Right, it looks like we are live. Hello, everyone. It's Angelica Alen here. I am a wellness and health coach, and I'm super excited here. And I can't wait to learn and immerse myself in Jenny's experience, which is talking about, I believe, something that is affecting many people, which is the thyroid, a very important gland. And I can't wait to hear her experience so she can share with us her learnings around her own personal struggles. So, hi, Jenny, how are you?
Good, good. Thank you for having me on. These are pretty important conversations, so I appreciate that you're taking the time to talk to me about it.
Oh, that's beautiful. You said it right. It's pretty important conversations, and I can't wait to hear. So, why don't you start telling us a little bit about how it all started? What happened and where were you at and where you are today.
Well, so hypothyroid, it probably started off a lot younger than I thought. If I can think back, I had gut issues when I was a kid, then I had chronic tonsillitis, and then they thought I had mono, but officially when I was 16, I really didn't feel well. And then I ended up going to my doctors and saying, hey, do stuff to figure out what's wrong with me. I don't feel well. She took a battery of tests and said, yeah, you have hypothyroid. And in the early 90s, and I was 16, and, probably started way before that, but she was like, only old ladies have this. I don't know what to do with you. So
Wow.
she didn't put me on medication. She just kind of was, well, you're kind of low in the thing, but we'll keep watching you. And so she couldn't give me medication because there was no protocol for a 16-year-old for hypothyroid. And
So just
so,
going back a little bit, when you say gut issues, what kind of gut issues did you have?
well, when I was young, I remember being having like stomach flus like every month or so. Like, yeah, I had stomach flus often. And then I got chronic tonsillitis when I was more like 10, 12 years old. And that, like it's just
What
like
did
it's
they do about it? Did they suggest to take your tonsils out at a time or no?
so that I was right at the end of that wave of
Yeah.
trend of let's yank him. My
Okay.
doctor was like, you know what, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. And he was always, every all winter long, and I'd have it every month. It was antibiotics after
Oh,
antibiotics,
yeah.
and then or let's wait and see. And I'm glad he waited and see because they're pretty important.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I was at the tail end of that trend and I still have them, but there's a lot going on in my body. Alarms were sounding off and we didn't know what to do with these alarms. And it was when I was 23 on my 23rd birthday after partying all night, hungover the next
Oh,
morning. It's my birthday. I didn't wake up for 3 days. I couldn't get out of bed. This was like the world's worst hangover, but it was beyond hangover. I called my doctor. I said, you need to see me today. We need to get blood work. Something's wrong. And sure enough, my TSH were like super low. And I have no idea how low they were, but she got me on medication that day. And
wow.
that was my next journey for the next 18 years was, figuring out how to maintain this good TSH level.
Yeah. So
And
so between kind of 16 to 23, they were just still monitoring you, but
yeah,
not doing any, and
every
obviously they
6
didn't.
months
Yeah.
getting blood work and it wasn't doing great, but it was like, well, I can't give you medication. You're too young. So I just
Yeah.
kept
Do
gaining
you think
weight.
they even tested you before 16 for that? For, probably not, like your blood.
No,
Yeah,
it
okay.
was, I think she was like out of luck, like she didn't
But
know where
yeah.
else to go. And she's like, well, let's see if this is what it is. Cause I thought I had mono, it wasn't mono, and this and that and the other, and they couldn't find anything else. And it's that symptom of, well, you're making it up. No, I'm not making it up. There's something wrong with me. And when she did the test for thyroid, she's like, wow, okay. Yeah, your thyroid is failing. And she knew, right? She told me at 16, once I give you medication, your thyroid is going to stop making itself. So she didn't
Oh,
want to get me on medication. but she also didn't know what dose to give me at that age, because I mean, you're not done growing. Well, apparently I was done growing pretty short.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But still, you know,
So
and then
what were you feeling like? Did you have especially at that age, like the periods and all normal periods and things like that, or did it affect you?
yeah, I mean, every like that was functioning fine,
Fine,
sort of.
okay.
But to me, like I've always suspected that it was the fact that I was starting birth control at that age.
Yeah.
I was taking tetracycline, which is an antibiotic, but it's what they give for acne. And
Oh,
then
it's a
with
long-term
all,
antibiotic.
yeah, and then with the tonsillitis, penicillin that I was taking, like
So basically, you're
just
hammering your gut with antibiotics from the age of like 10 to, yeah,
to 16, yeah, and
yeah,
on, and with birth control and all
birth
of that, and
control.
my body just went, I quit. I
Yeah.
can't do this anymore.
So
So,
how did
and
you
it just
live
got worse.
like through like 16 to 23? That's a lot of years. What were you feeling? I mean, how, like it sounds like it was probably a struggle, or how was it?
Well, I tried to follow my friends, right? I tried to live my life thinking, well, this is how everyone feels. This is just
Yeah.
the way it is. You just don't know any better. So you got 2 feet in concrete and you try anyways. And
Yeah.
then, I took medication at 23, and then they had to find the right dose. And she started me very little, and she never wanted me to go over. So I was always under. And I was never feeling peak health, right? And
So
it's,
that meant like constantly tired, brain fog. What
yeah,
were the things that you were feeling?
I mean, tired, gaining weight, brittle nails, cold. I used to sleep with socks in summer, right? It was super hot outside, and I was wearing jeans and a sweatshirt. I was always
Wow.
cold. I was always cold, and just moody, depressed. And I didn't realize I was depressed because I pretty much felt that way always. I was always tired. I was always, sometimes if they're so tired, I'd fall asleep in the puddle if I could. Like I need to sleep now.
And at that
But
age, at like we said, in early 20s, you shouldn't feel like that, right? Like,
no, and I would fall asleep. Where my dad was concerned was like, let's go see a doctor. When I was 16, it was like I'd fall asleep. He'd pick me up after school or at a friend's house or whatever, and I'd fall asleep in the car on the way home.
wow.
They're like, oh, are you narcoleptic? What's going on? And there was a whole bunch of things that we didn't understand what was going on. But at 23, when I started taking medication, I started losing a little bit of weight. I started feeling better. And I was like, okay, all right on. This is good.
Yeah.
But as life went on, maybe 6 months, maybe a year after, slowly but surely, symptoms were coming back. TSH
Oh,
levels were great, but I
oh,
started feeling bad
okay.
again, tired again. And then you get married, have a kid, and then you don't sleep, and and then it just got worse. And I just at one point, and then I had to up my dose. And as you get older, then your body's metabolism is not as great. And then I had to take more medication. It just kept snowballing and getting worse. And I'm like, no, this isn't, I'm not signing up for this. This can't be, there's gotta be
Yeah.
a better way.
So
And
when
so,
was that point when you kind of, and we were talking about this before, like the symptoms start creeping up on you, and that, you know, status of, what we know now, which is not good health, it starts creeping up on you, and you get used to it, thinking that's normal.
yeah,
But me and you know now the way we feel that it wasn't normal. What was that point that you kind of said to yourself, like, enough is enough? Like this, I can't deal with this anymore.
it literally, I owe it all to my daughter. Because I couldn't be there for her. I was too tired to play with her. I was too tired to give her time. When you're tired and your brain fog and all that, you're short fused, right? She was getting mean mommy. Um, And I needed to show up better. I needed to be healthy. I needed to feel good. I needed to be able to think straight. I needed to manage my stress, my health, my everything. So it was like a dark night of the soul where I said, there, show me the way. I am willing to change.
Yeah.
Tell me what to do.
So
And
basically, you had enough energy just to keep life going, like probably work and then do a few things, and then you would crash when it came to spend time with, the person who you most loved, right, your daughter,
yeah,
because you just couldn't
yeah.
have enough energy to keep going.
Oh yeah, if she'd go to bed, I'd go to bed and sleep all the way through. I was just trying to get as much sleep as I could, but at some point it wasn't a lack of sleep. It was just my battery was on empty.
All
And
the
it didn't
time,
matter
right?
how much exercise I did or how healthily I thought I was eating, and it didn't seem to make a difference at all. I just kept getting worse.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
then when was that turning point?
So I'd say about 2018 is when I was like, I'm ready for a change. And I started watching documentaries and I started to inform myself, learning. And, once you start, once you start that, the information starts flooding in, right? And like I was saying earlier, at first you get angry. You're angry you didn't know this stuff. You're angry you weren't told this stuff. I could have made a change a long time ago if I knew, but that doesn't matter. It's still, it is where I am. And once I started learning, I mean, this isn't medical advice, right? This is me researching and applying some things that I've learned. And like I said, I was overly toxic. Like I took too many antibiotics. I had no gut flora. I didn't have my friends to help me thrive, and once I started to change, not just food, but food was a big part of it,
Yeah.
but I had to change the way I thought. I was really stressed. We were going through a custody battle. It was a really hard time. So once I started to change my perception, the way I ate, once I started to invest in myself, basically, is what it is. Once I started to love me for me and
Mm.
that I mattered, then it got easy
Yeah.
because then the food that went into my mouth had to be of good quality. The thoughts that went into my head had to be good quality. The feelings in my heart had to be good quality. And all of that made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And sure enough, in 2018, it took me a year, but I started weaning myself off my medication. And what I did is I broke my pill in quarters. And I started with 3 quarters. And then I did that for 4 months. And then the symptoms came back, and I felt really horrible for the first week or two. And then I started feeling a little bit better. And then, because I mean, literally, if I didn't take my medication one morning, because I took it every morning religiously, and if I didn't take it that
Yeah.
morning because I forgot, because you had a child running into the bathroom and suddenly you get distracted and you don't take it, by 3 o'clock I was ready to fall asleep in a puddle. Like I was done. And so it was important for me to continue that because my life depended on it, literally. And so I get those feelings again, but then my body would adjust, and it would adjust slowly. And I continued to learn and change things in my life and change my approaches, meditate, yoga, qigong. Just, I started to apply all these things into my life, and things got easier. And then next quarter, then I took another quarter off, like next season, right? Every 4 months I would go down. So now I was down to half. And then I was down to a quarter. And then I did a quarter for 6 months because I was a little nervous and I wanted to talk to my doctor about it, because I was sold, but I was still skeptical. And so I went for blood work before I went cold turkey completely. And so I stayed on the quarter of my medication for 6 months, did the blood work. It came back, my TSH was at 27. And the norm, your 7 or 8 is where they consider you hypothyroid. Okay. And I was at 27. And my doctor was like, you need to go back on your pills. And she faxed that over to the pharmacy. They put it out. I had to go pick it up. I still have that bag stapled, never opened it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's big.
So I have shivers just saying that, but
I know.
I had to believe in myself. I said, you know what? No, I can do this. I can heal myself. I feel good. I don't care what that number says. I am going to prove her wrong. And so I didn't take the medication. She thinks I'm on it, left me alone for a year, called me back a year later. We're in the pandemic. And she's like, hey, you were supposed to go for blood work in December. You never did. And this is January 2021. Sorry, man, pandemic, crazy. Sure, yeah, send me that rec. I'll go get that blood work. And I did. And it came back. I was at 6.14. I was no longer hypothyroid.
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what is it that is, obviously you have done so many things, it sounds like. Obviously we're not going to go like through everything in detail, but what are the things that, for example, the food, were you in the healthy Western diet before?
Yeah, I mean, I just, whatever was on the shelf was good, and I say vegan for the quick word, but I went in 2018, I went plant-based. So I got rid of meat. I was already semi-dairy free at that point, like no more milk, but the occasional cheese and the occasional ice cream cone and stuff. But I went like no more at all. No meat, no dairy. I still was eating gluten, and to this day I still do, but I make sure that it's organic.
Yeah.
And it's not every meal. I mean, I used to have, cereal for breakfast, sandwich for lunch, pasta for dinner, and my stomach couldn't handle it. And so for food, I went more vegetables. Like my whole plate was vegetables, more legumes, more, so that part was important. I totally went organic as much as possible, and that made a huge difference. I mean, not only did it help me, but it helped my daughter because she had constipation issues, she had skin issues, allergies, and I mean, she's not completely rid of the allergies, but we have a cat and she's not taking anything. And she's allergic to cats, right?
Yeah,
so
I am allergic to cats, and I know that. Like if I went to your house, it would take me an hour and I would just have to go to the hospital. So I know how severely can it be.
Yeah, so she'll blow her nose in the morning, and if she's really playing with him and he's extra shedding, then she'll go blow her nose, but she doesn't take anything, so she can manage it. And I don't think it would have been the same if she kept eating. I mean, her diet's not perfect when she goes over at friends and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a kid. I don't want to completely limit her, but mommy's pretty strict on what we eat at home.
Yeah. And
she's good with vegetables.
And I think, what you've done, it's important, because for me it was the same. Like I changed my diet together with my kids and my husband.
Yes.
Because, there was no point in me going on all healthy and leaving them behind.
Yeah, well, no, but you love them just as much, right? So it's important.
And for me, exactly. Once you start understanding, it's a big investment for their future, right? Like, because it's, once you start understanding, you can't give them those foods.
And I'm wondering, like, did you have that ripple effect with the rest of the people around you? Because I find at first when I went like plant-based, I was like an annoyance to the family and friends. Oh, that one girl that doesn't eat meat, and then we have to have special food for her. And I was always like, don't worry, I'll bring my own food,
Yeah.
And it was such a problem. But now it's like people are like, oh yay, Jen's coming over, okay, we'll order this and we'll eat that, and they made a special dish for you. Like people are super excited about eating it, right? They still go back to their regular ways, but when I come over they make an effort and they love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. It's part of you become like that painful friend. But I think once you if people do ask, like for not advice, but like for the information, I explain to them why I don't eat certain foods anymore or whatever, and I think that invites them to think differently and to try different things, which is and then when people try, they realize it's actually, the healthy food can be delicious. Like I
Oh,
don't.
absolutely. All your taste buds come
Yeah,
back. Oh, wow.
I
I love
know.
food.
Yeah. Somebody was telling me this week, and they were talking to me about diet, and they said, and then you could cheat on one day, and you could eat macaroni, cheese, and ice cream. And when she said that, I almost like wanted to throw up, and I was like, that sounds like disgusting.
You
That
don't
sounds
want
like my
the same
worst.
things
It sounds
anymore.
like a torture to me if I had to eat it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
But it's true, right? You change, your physiology changes, your taste buds changes, your attitude changes,
yeah,
and then you want different. And another important thing for me was I switched like a lot of my products, right? The beauty products, the soaps, that all that stuff. I got rid of a lot of chemicals in my house. I changed the deodorant to a non-aluminum based, like more organic and natural substance, like all of that. I don't use plasticware for anything. It's all glass containers or stainless steel. Like I just tried to limit as much as possible, like all the chemicals that were coming into my body, because I knew that was my problem. I was overly toxic.
yeah,
And the more I could purge that, the better I felt. And every time I do a detox or a cleanse or anything like that, I feel that much better after that.
yeah,
So,
definitely. And what about exercise? You mentioned that, before, you were doing some exercise already, but like, how did that change like your relationship with exercise, and what kind of different exercises did you
well,
do?
I have more energy to do it, and I just wish I had more time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it becomes like yoga for me is a must. It's part of my wake up routine, and if I don't, my body aches.
yeah,
And it's a must. It's a way of life. It kickstarts my body, my muscles, my flow, my everything. Your lymphatic system, a lot of people don't know that, but your lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. Your
yeah,
muscles move it. And how are you going to detox? How are you going to get rid of your garbage in your body if you don't move your body?
yeah,
So I walk, I do yoga, I do qigong, but a little bit of lifting and stuff like that to get some muscle tones,
yeah,
but nothing hardcore.
yeah. It's
Biking,
just,
just have
yeah,
fun with my daughter, do cartwheels in the park.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I totally agree as well. I think, you can add stress to your body if you start going crazy, right? And I think
Yeah,
that the idea of exercise is just to create that, movement, and, obviously your heart rate going up a bit. But, I think for me, the yoga, I do weights twice a week, but it's just moving the flow of energy in your body and feeling
yeah,
good. And I enjoy it. I'm not, I don't have, it's not like a suffering time. It's, for me, it's an enjoyable time. And I think that's the most
exactly.
important thing, right?
Yeah, that's the key. And the thing is, you want to move the joints, you want to lubricate the joints. You don't want to injure them, right? Like going hardcore to the gym for 2 hours and killing yourself. I don't think that's really the way to go.
Yeah, exactly. And what about you mentioned meditation. So did you start meditating at that point that you kind of start changing everything, or?
um, I don't actually, all of it really started with yoga. I couldn't sleep because I had restless legs because of, it's all tied to my circulation and my thyroid and everything. And the more I didn't sleep, the more I couldn't sleep. And so I started doing yoga as a way to help me sleep at night,
Mm,
which really helped. And
yeah,
then the yoga, like traditional yoga, real yoga, which led to meditation afterwards. And that helped quiet the mind. And that's when I think the clarity, the information, the way, the
yeah,
path, that everything came from there, right? I was able to get a good view of where I wanted to go, and then the information that was coming in, I was willing to hear it.
mm,
And it all
that's
started with
beautiful.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes we spend all our time trying and thinking that they're trying so hard is the answer, but it's not until you quiet your mind and
Yeah.
yourself and stand still that the best information comes from, isn't it? And the kind of the answers and the clarity, like I said. That is beautiful.
Yeah, I think we all know what to do. It's all inside, right? We already know, we already have that wisdom. It's just we're not listening. And it's not like I did this whole kitchen purge and, it was baby steps and how can I improve and how can I make this meal healthier, one ingredient at a time. I didn't rush
Totally
into
agree.
any of it. I didn't, it was, yeah, it was a long process, but man, I'm a believer now. I walk the walk, I talk the talk, I
Yeah,
feel great, and there's no going back.
exactly. Yeah. And like you said, it's you know, and this is why diets don't work, right? Because people want to just go on this radical thing and this thing that it's not sustainable, this plan that is not, gonna get you to see the long term. And when you start changing things at baby steps, you can actually see all of this through because they are there to stay, right? Like, so
Yeah,
you
it's a
just, change
lifestyle.
one
Life,
thing
yeah.
and stay. Yeah, change
You're
something else.
breaking old habits, and that takes time. You didn't create
Yeah.
them overnight. You can't fix them overnight. And it's more sustainable if you take your time and just improve for
And,
sure. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and I think that when you're talking about the changing the medication from one, taking one quarter and one quarter, and then you felt like very well for a couple of weeks, and then
Yeah.
that shows like how resilient the body is, right? And the body obviously needed to get used to getting rid of that quarter, but it just
Yeah.
readjusted again to me. And we live in this instant gratification society, and you only had to wait for those 2 weeks, you
Yeah.
know and then the body would be like, yeah, okay, now I'm onto the new routine, less quarter less, and we're functioning back on, right? And
Yeah.
I think that is so beautiful that you were able to stick to it and to believe in it and stay with it, right? Because I think that's what we struggle in this kind of, unless I see results right now, I'm going back on the medication.
Well, and I think a lot of people get scared with that, right? They don't feel well. Their instinct is go to the doctors. And if you think about it, if you cut your finger, your body already knows how to heal it. It's just right then and there starting to go right back to healing it. And so you can see that from a cut, but that applies to anything in your body. And like that 2 week thing, like whether you needed antibiotics or not, that's you would have healed in 2 weeks regardless.
Yeah,
Right? And knowing that, like my daughter, like if she gets sick, it's like just wait it out, rest,
yeah,
eat well, you'll be
yeah,
fine. And she's not getting any antibiotics
yeah.
and she
I
doesn't
know.
need it. She does get better and she is stronger for it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had an experience with my son probably last year. He had a cold and it was quite a bad cold. And, I kept, you know, making him curries with like ground cumin, turmeric, we always drink a carrot and an orange juice and I put ginger on it. And now
Mm,
making him like all of this like really good food. And then he got really bad on the next day. And I was like, oh, my husband's like, should we give him paracetamol? And I said, well, let's just wait it out for one more day and see how he goes. And I was making him do gargles with vinegar and
yeah.
salt, because he had a really bad sore throat. Um, and it took him that day of feeling not very good. And I was just, and my kids can give anyone classes around nutrition because I just bang on and on and keep eating, this is doing that, this is the garlic is doing this, the ginger
Yeah.
is doing that. And the next day, sure enough, he was fine.
Yeah. But
No
we have that
paracetamol.
moment of fear, right? We don't trust. And even after going through what we've gone through, we still doubt it. And then I put it to the test. Man, I just did it with my cat. My cat had a bladder infection. He was peeing blood. And I was like, I got to bring him to the vet. I don't have time for this. And I went, no, wait a minute.
Yeah,
You know how you can help him. And I did. And he got rid of it. And he's
uh,
great for it.
yeah,
And but we freak out. And it's
yeah,
just like, hold on. What is your body telling you? Are
yeah,
you listening? What can you change? Because usually, if you ask yourself these questions, you know the answer. You're just not
yeah.
quiet enough to do that, right?
Yeah.
And
So
oh,
if you go back to like, what was the hardest like for you? Like what was the most challenging, in your journey, do you think?
I'm pretty determined. I know we talked about that. I'm pretty
Uh,
resilient. I'm pretty. I can accomplish. If I set my mind on something, I'm going to accomplish it. That wasn't really the struggle, but for the longest time, I felt like an outcast.
yeah.
Right, as I was going through that journey, as I was figuring out meals and what to eat, and how did I fit in with this new me, and I didn't know who I was because I was in between, and they knew me one way and I was starting to become another way. And so they didn't know how to be with me either. And so it was awkward with friends and family for a while. And I think that was the biggest struggle because I was in transition and I didn't know where I was going. But now I'm like, yeah, Jen's the healthy girl. She'll tell me, and people do, right? After you go through that, you have a ripple effect in your friends and family. And then they think of you and they say, hey, any advice on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually I do. Try
I
this.
love the question. Do you think there's anything I can do? The answer is always yes, there is.
Yeah, for sure. So it's just
Yeah,
once you
that is interesting you say that, because it's we are very much creatures of of living
bad
together in
habits.
society, and also like and trying to fit in and belong. And when, like you're saying, like when you feel like an outcast, it's it is somewhat challenging, because yeah, all of a sudden you become like, oh my god, what are we going to cook for her, like she's coming for a barbecue, like
Oh yeah, tell me
yeah.
about it. Oh my gosh.
Barbecue.
The first year, I mean, there's a friend of ours that does a pool party every year when school's done. All the moms are invited, all the kids play together, they all drink, they all eat meat. And I had to sneak in a shawarma, like a vegetarian shawarma, and I was eating it like discreetly, and I was trying to hide the burger that I wasn't eating, and they kept offering more booze, and I was like, no, because I mean, I'm trying to liver detox. I'm not gonna have alcohol. I know it was such a struggle. I was just, oh man, I wanted to fit in so bad, but I didn't want to do it to harm myself. I didn't want to get off my quest of healing my body just so I can fit in that one night. So that
Yeah.
was the biggest struggle. People will love you anyways. you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
you
it's
don't need
very
to.
interesting. Yeah, that you say that. I think that's a valid point, and I think we all go through that once we're trying to find this new path, because once you start going through that, like what we thought it was healthy and normal, it's not healthy and normal anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yesterday I posted about alcohol, and yeah, I had the same thing, after my treatment, everybody, are you gonna have a drink after it? Your treatment, 12 sessions of chemo, my liver working 24/7 to detox from, like, I could
Let's
just
go back to
imagine my
food.
cells going this, oh my God, we're still working. Like,
Yeah.
did I want to have a drink? And I had such like a different relationship with my body, and I had so much respect,
Yeah.
for my body, for having done that, week, session after session, and for me, putting one drink inside for me,
Divisible.
it was like it would have been incredibly disrespectful, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that anymore, because
Yeah.
that wasn't me. And when I look back at my life before cancer, I loved having a drink. Drinking was a big, like, it wasn't like, oh, I drank just to fit in. No, no, no. I liked the taste, and I liked being drunk. And I spent many years binging drinking, and it wasn't until I got pregnant at 31 years old. So, but like when I look, binge drink solidly for from 15 to 30. That's like 15 years,
Yeah. Same here.
which is not great. But again, like in our Western society, we normalize drinking, like
Yes.
this is the only way to have fun. And it's okay for you to have like 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 units to 14 to, it's like, uh, yeah, no, it's not okay.
No.
Like we need to really understand what's okay. And to be honest, for me, when I asked that question, like really, like that hard question to myself, are you an alcoholic? And I'll be like, no, but do you have a healthy relationship with alcohol? And the answer was like, no.
No.
Because if you drink one drink, next week you're going to drink two.
Oh yeah, but I always said that. No, I'm not gonna have one because one tastes like two, and I have to drive. All right,
Yeah.
and so people got off my back with that, and that was my ticket out to still be invited at places, but be the sober one in the group, right? But hey, Dee, then you could drive everybody home, but
Yeah.
I can still have fun, and in fact, I find I have more fun because I remember what I say, and I don't regret what I say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when for me, the best is when you wake up next day, you think, oh my God, how can I wake up with so much energy? My head is clear and I have never had a hangover anymore. Like,
No, and I can't
again, like, why
imagine.
do we put ourselves like through that and think that that's normal?
Social, there's social pressure to do it when you're a teenager all the way to, I'm in my 40s, and it's like I still see people are like, you got to do this is what you do to be social and have fun. Yeah, I can still have fun without it.
Yeah. Same.
It's I'll have my little green smoothie and you have your beer, that's fine.
Yeah.
Each his own.
Well, sometimes I am meditating and I just feel like such a, like a fuzzy and bliss feeling, like that I feel like, oh, I wish I had learned this instead of learning how to just get drunk and get hammered, because, it
Yeah,
just gives me like, that lightness and that feeling of you're filled with so much joy and
you feel more whole.
I know, and I think that when you obviously, I know I didn't learn that when I was 16 and, fortunately or unfortunately, I just didn't learn. There wasn't anywhere around me. So um, I think I spent lots of years drinking because I just wanted to numb
Oh
my,
yeah.
my feelings and how I really felt inside, and
But
it's
you still
sad.
carry it. You still carry it with you. It's only when you face it and you purge it and you get rid of it can you really feel whole and better. And that's where the healing is.
Yeah, yeah. And how did you like go about healing that emotional part? Like you mentioned about thoughts and how your thoughts impacted, your health as well. How did you heal that part?
Well, I mean, it's an ongoing thing. Right?
Definitely the
I got
daily.
a
Yeah,
lot of luggage to unpack. I think we all do.
yeah,
I
totally.
think my greatest teacher, who I love the most, has to be Wayne Dyer, who has been my biggest teacher in all of that, right? And my continued education, especially Joe Dispenza and all of them, they're such good reminders, and I did a lot of EFT tapping, and
Awesome.
I did a lot of that to help process some stuff, and I had to face some stuff dead on, and had some good cries where I hadn't cried for 10 years. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't cry. I'd see a commercial and cry like a baby. But when something traumatic in my life would happen, eyes bone dry, couldn't do it, completely blocked. And so tapping was really good for me to help release that, right? And it's right on your meridians, and it just makes complete sense to get that trauma out of your body. So it's, healing is not just one thing. There's so much you need to do. It's a holistic approach.
Yeah. And like you said, it's a continuous thing, isn't it? It's like a daily practice, as in, whatever you do each day to help you emotionally and to release.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
and
it
to
can,
find, you catch yourself now going into old habits and old ways or old
yeah,
programming, like, oh, oh, okay, yeah. All
yeah,
right. So you
yeah. Not
just,
not
oh my
going down
God,
that path. I'm gonna go this.
And then that's how you create change. Instead
Yeah.
of going the same route you've been doing for the same 40 years, then suddenly you're turning in a different direction. And at first it's strange. Of course, it's not your beaten path. But eventually you get somewhere where you want. And it's a little bit every time, and catch
Yeah.
yourself every time. And I have a brother that loves to remind me when I, these are some old programmings coming up. Yes, thank you very much. You're right. You know, at first I would have been insulted, but now I'm like, you're totally right. I'm going to
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah. I always tell my husband, because I tell him everything that I learn, and he will do that for me. And I'll be like, oh, why did I train you so well? Now you're just pulling me up on it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
it keeps us honest.
exactly. I know. And I think what people don't realize as well, like especially with stress, right? You mentioned it was very stressed, when went down the route of what, I need to do something else.
Yeah.
It's the low level stress, isn't it? Like, keeps getting on top. And if you don't do anything for it, it just
You're
keeps,
drowning. Yeah.
yeah,
And I
you're
see
drowning.
so many friends right now with COVID and their kids and the lockdown and all that stuff, having to pay bills, not working. The stress is becoming overwhelming. And I just hope that I can be a ray of sunshine in their life. And I try to, where I can see them sinking and thinking negative, and it's part of the programming to think the worst case scenario.
Yeah,
And it's shifting your mind. Okay, don't focus on that part. Focus on the best case scenario.
yeah,
See the silver lining. Focus, get into that positive mind, positive energy, and things start to change. And if I mean, I've done that. I've proven it time and time again. I can manifest stuff, right? If I change my mind. And it's unbelievable what a
yeah,
different set of thoughts can do for you.
yeah, definitely, yeah. Now tell us, how do you wake up each day? Like, levels of energy, and how do you feel in your body?
Oh my gosh. Somebody had asked me, if you were to go back in time, what age would you choose? And I'm like, I wouldn't go back in time. I felt like crap. I would pick right now because I have never felt so good. I wake up, I have an alarm clock for 6 o'clock, but I most often wake up by myself at 5:15, 5:30. And then I'm
Yeah,
like, extra time to meditate, extra time to do yoga, and if I
yeah,
do, and if I need the sleep, because sometimes we don't sleep for whatever reason, old habits of thinking too much, or stress getting on your plate,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
don't sleep, and then at 6 o'clock, then I will press snooze, and I will allow myself to snooze a 10-minute more and not do that yoga that day, or a little less, or
yeah,
be late for whatever. you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just I allow myself some more time, but I generally wake up pretty good, feeling really good.
Amazing, yeah. And then, like, levels of energy throughout the day, you never have that, those all those side effects and symptoms that you had.
My dad has known me my whole life, obviously,
Yeah,
and he's seen me through thick and thin in this. He's seen me at my worst, and he's seen me at my best, and he can't believe the stuff I can accomplish. Like, I used to be you know, one thing at a time. If I have to go grocery shopping, that's the only thing I can
wow,
muster up energy to go do. I can go see a friend and then have dinner with another and then go grocery shopping and then clean the house. Like, it was a one task per day
wow,
thing. Now it's like I can accomplish a whole. You can't believe how much energy I have now. And
amazing.
yeah, well, change your diet. You'll have that energy too.
Yeah, wow, amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, thank you so much for this. I think that's so beneficial for, for so many people going through that same issue. I think thyroid is becoming quite a popular. I don't want to say popular, but it is. It's affecting
Yeah,
so many
no, there's
people.
a pandemic of that. Everybody is getting diagnosed. And I have a lot of people coming to me saying, you'll never guess. I'm like you. I was diagnosed with hypothyroid. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm not anymore.
yeah,
What? No, I can heal it. Oh, you can't heal that. Yeah, you can.
yeah,
But people are not always willing to, to change their ways. But at some point, they'll want to.
And this is my next question. So if people would like to get in touch with you, I mean, I can add your details here on YouTube, you on Facebook or things like that.
I do have a Facebook, but I don't really have anything yet to connect me with that. But I will send you figure something out how
Okay,
people
cool.
can reach out, because I do. I mean, right, it's a ripple effect, and that's why I'm loving this conversation, because I mean, I've had a little ripple effect in my friends and family where they all, a lot of them started making some changes, in some small, some big, and seeing a change. But having these conversation, that just broadens this ripple, right? It just brings some awareness to some people. We get that seed sown in people's mind about, maybe I can take back control of my health. And I think it's an important conversation to have.
Definitely, yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah, I think that's taking back the control is the biggest step, isn't it? Like just not accepting, SHIT health. Like there is more. We don't have
and fight that fear, or that urge to think that you can't do this, because you can.
Yeah.
Because you can think you can, or you can think you can't. Either way, you're right. But if you think you can, you're right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you sharing with us your experience. It's been very valuable to me to learn as well.
Thank you.
And yeah, keep sharing your story. I'm sure you're gonna help many people in the world.
Well, thank you for this conversation. It was great.
Take care.